If you're easily offended about alcohol, then you may not want to watch this video because I've got some serious news for you when it comes down to alcohol and building muscle. There is some data that is now suggesting that alcohol could directly impact testosterone levels. Now, when we look at this data and we look at this relatively new study, on one hand, it's not exactly surprising, but on the other hand, the mechanism, the way in which it affects the potential to build muscle is quite surprising. Like, the mechanism is just wild. So we're gonna get into the details of this study. We're gonna also talk about what alcohol is doing inside your body when it comes down to potentially building muscle. I put a link down below for Thrive Market. Thrive Market has a cool product that they carry that is called Hop Water. If you're someone that is trying to get off alcohol, I do recommend that you check them out. Now, Hop Water is not a sponsor on this channel. Like, honest truth, they're not a sponsor, but they're a really cool product. They're a drink that is made from hops, but then they use like nootropics and things like that to kind of give you a little bit of a buzz without the alcohol. And then they happen to carry it at Thrive Market. So that way you can use Thrive Market if you want and save 30% off your entire grocery order. So you don't have to just get Hop Water. You can get whatever you want from Thrive Market, and that link will save you 30% off your entire grocery order plus a free $50 gift when you sign up with Thrive Market. So that link is down below. You can sort by different diet types, by keto, by paleo. You can sort by beverages and find other non-alcoholic beverages. It's just a good way. A lot of times, like when people are coming off alcohol, it's just nice to have a substitute, especially a substitute that gives you a sense of well-being. So anyway, that link is down below in the top line of the description. The first thing before I get into this study is we have to understand how alcohol just impacts our sleep and how sleep impacts our ability to build muscle. It also impacts our ability to burn fat. But what we don't realize is that our growth hormone pulses happen in the first 4 hours of sleep. What happens is when we sleep, we go through these stages multiple times. So we have a bigger pulse of growth hormone, and then we have like subsequent smaller pulses of growth hormone. Obviously, growth hormone helps build muscle, but when you are drinking alcohol and you disrupt how many times you go through these cycles, you're disrupting and even attenuating the growth hormone pulses. Don't get me wrong, you can still build muscle if you occasionally drink alcohol, but the data is really starting to suggest that the impact on sleep really is a huge hurdle to have to overcome when it comes down to building muscle and burning fat. But now let's talk about this study, because this one's gonna blow your mind. This was published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine, and it took a look at alcoholics versus healthy people. And it had these two groups of people drink alcohol for 30 days. I actually had them drink ethanol that would equate to a few drinks a night for 30 days. I wanted to see if someone went just on, not even a bender, but just drank for 30 days straight. And like in an amount that would still be reasonable to have at night. You had a stressful month. Like, what would happen? What they did find is that the people that were alcoholics in the beginning, before even starting this test, already had low levels of testosterone. So they said, okay, well, alcoholics seem to have low testosterone. The healthy people were at a nice level. Within 72 hours, the healthy people had a decline in testosterone. Within 72 hours, so 3 days of just drinking at night, a decent amount, reduced their testosterone. They continued to monitor it, and then by the end of the study, at the end of 30 days, the healthy people who started with relatively normal testosterone levels had the same levels of testosterone as the alcoholics. That's how long it took. It took 30 days to decrease testosterone to that of a chronic alcoholic. So it doesn't take being an alcoholic for years to impact your testosterone levels. It takes being an alcoholic for 30 days. Or it takes casual drinking or casually high drinking for 30 days. So what's going on? Well, ethanol and its conversion process to acetaldehyde, these are toxins and they affect what are called Leydig cells. Leydig cells are what actually produce the testosterone. Now, in men, what happens if you have this process that occurs, and it's called the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. So you have the hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary then sends a signal to the Leydig cells to produce testosterone. So even if this entire process from the brain to these nuts is working, what's happening is the Leydig cells in these nuts aren't actually working. Okay, so it's not able to do that. So eventually the feedback loop kicks in. It tells the brain to try to increase luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, tries to increase that output, saying like, hey, like testosterone is not increasing. And this eventually turns into a vicious cycle that can burn out. And eventually the feedback loops get so disrupted that you shut down the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis as well. Not full shutdown as if you were on exogenous testosterone, but a pretty decent effect. Not to mention just the impact that alcohol might have on the brain to begin with. So when you're trying to build muscle, like what do? Like you need to relax, you need to calm down. Like there's a couple different things that you can do. For one, like invest in an infrared sauna. Ways to de-stress without alcohol. Sauna, don't skip the cardio. That has a huge impact on your stress. If you need a shock to the body, this is where people that have done cold plunging have really found that that seems to be a good intervention to help them get off alcohol. Don't really have solutions why, but the observational stuff is starting to demonstrate that people that do cold plunging are able to battle their addiction a little bit better. Another thing, Dr. Chris Palmer was on my channel. He's a Harvard psychiatrist. He had suggested that if you're having a hard time getting off of alcohol, that actually taking in exogenous ketones could have an impact on that. There's even a company called Hard Ketones. They're not a sponsor, but they've created like a ketone drink that is ketones instead of alcohol. They call it hard ketones because of this exact pathway. Beta hydroxybutyrate can cross into the mitochondria in the brain and provide an energy for those mitochondria that might feel like a similar buzz to alcohol. So those are just a few solutions if you're trying to build muscle and you're having a hard time getting off the alcohol. I'll see you tomorrow.